Every survivor has a story. Every story needs a voice. Every voice can save a life. This is Breaking the Silence. Episode 1. The Warning I Ignored.
Six-figure earner, college-educated, successful entrepreneur. Yes, that's me today. But it wasn't always this way. Malnourished, beaten down, barely surviving. This was also me, not too long ago. Hi, my name is Nina, and this is my story of survival, escape, and transformation. I'm sitting here today in this beautiful coffee shop, wearing my favorite white shirt and heels, carrying my laptop to another successful business meeting. I have a loving husband who supports my dreams, a daughter who's growing into a remarkable young woman, and a life I could never have imagined during my darkest years. But this story isn't about where I am now, though, I promise you, we'll talk about how healing can lead to real love, to genuine trust, to the kind of relationship I never thought possible after what I experienced. This story is about the journey that brought me here, the 4 years of hell that nearly destroyed me and my daughter, and most importantly, the warning I ignored that could have saved us both years of trauma. Today, I want to start at the beginning, not with the abuse itself, but with the moment my intuition tried desperately to save me. The moment I should have listened to my inner voice instead of talking myself out of what I was seeing. Before he ever arrived in my country, before I ever saw his face in person, there was a warning sign so obvious that I still remember it 10 years later. I had written his name, Stan, on a piece of paper, just his name. But on several occasions, when I looked down at what I'd written, I didn't see Stan. I saw Satan. I dismissed it. I laughed it off. I told myself I was being dramatic, superstitious, silly. Our rational minds are so quick to dismiss what our intuition is screaming. But research now shows that our brains process danger signals before we're consciously aware of them. That feeling of something's not right isn't paranoia, it's your brain's threat detection system working exactly as it should. Yet we're taught to ignore these signals. We're conditioned to be polite, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to not trust our irrational feelings. And abusers count on this. They count on us talking ourselves out of the warnings our bodies are desperately trying to send. This wasn't the only warning. There were others I ignored. The inconsistencies in his stories, the way he positioned himself as the solution to all my problems, how quickly he tried to establish intimacy. But that vision of his name transforming before my eyes, that was the universe practically shouting at me to run. So how did this man, this predator, first enter my life? Not as a monster, but as a potential business partner, a connection, a familiar stranger. It started with a simple Facebook message. "Are we family?" he asked. He mentioned knowing my cousin, my uncle, creating an immediate sense of familiarity and safety. He wasn't a stranger, he was connected to my world. I responded that I didn't think we were family, but I did know his brother and called his brother Uncle, establishing a connection that made him seem vetted, safe. He responded to content I had shared about products I was selling. I was struggling with my business at that time, trying to make ends meet as a single mother, and he positioned himself as exactly what I needed, a marketing professional who could help my business thrive. He began with casual flirtation, and I was direct. I told him I had just ended a relationship and wasn't interested in starting another. I was focused on my business, on creating security for my daughter and myself. "I understand completely," he said. "I respect that." This is a crucial tactic to understand. Abusers often respect small boundaries early on to gain your trust, while plotting to violate all your boundaries later. He told me he was living in another country, but would soon visit to see his ex-wife and children. According to him, They had an amicable relationship. He was coming to spend time with his kids. He would be staying with his cousin during his visit. Everything sounded reasonable, appropriate. We started talking daily. I found myself looking forward to his messages, to his insights about my business, to the way he seemed to truly see me and my potential when I was feeling most lost. He told me he led a huge marketing team for a famous company selling similar products to mine. He had answers for everything, solutions that seemed perfectly suited to the exact challenges I was facing. I drew up contracts for our potential business partnership. This was going to be professional, legitimate. He had answers for everything, solutions that seemed perfectly suited to the exact challenges I was facing. What I didn't know then, what I wouldn't discover until I was already trapped, was that every word was calculated, every story fabricated. The marketing experience, the amicable relationship with his ex, the cousin he'd be staying with, all of it, carefully crafted fiction designed to create a character I would welcome into my life. As our online communication continued, he became more interested in my daily life. What started as occasional messages became daily conversations. He was charming, attentive, seemingly invested in my success. But I wonder now if I had paid attention to that moment, that strange transformation of his name before my eyes, would things have been different? Would I have been more cautious? Would I have seen through the perfect facade to the predator beneath? Today I'm blessed to know what real love looks like, what healthy support feels like, what genuine partnership means in a relationship. My husband has never once made me doubt my perceptions, never dismissed my concerns, never positioned himself as my savior from problems he helped create. But back then, I had no frame of reference for recognizing the difference between genuine interest and calculated manipulation, between someone who wanted to help me succeed and someone who wanted to control me completely. The day came when he was scheduled to arrive, not in my country, but in a neighboring one. He asked if I could pick him up from the airport. I don't have a car, I told him, but I borrowed one from a friend. I drove hours across the border, excited to finally meet this person who had become such a presence in my daily life, who seemed to hold the keys to turning my struggling business around. I waited at the airport, scanning the faces of arriving passengers, and then there he was, in person, finally. Something felt different. The vibrant humor from our online conversations seemed muted. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, but I dismissed it as travel fatigue, cultural differences, the awkwardness of a first meeting. We got in the car. I was going to take him to his cousin's place as planned. But as we drove, he delivered the news that would change everything. His cousin wasn't answering calls. He couldn't reach them. He had nowhere to go. "If I could just stay at your place," he said, "just for one night until I can reach my cousin." I hesitated. This wasn't what we had discussed. This wasn't the plan. But what choice did I have? I had driven hours to pick him up in another country. I couldn't just leave him stranded. At least that's what I told myself. That's what he was counting on me telling myself. "Okay," I said finally, "just for one night." We arrived at my home. My daughter wasn't there. She was staying with my cousin that weekend. It was just the two of us in my small house. "I don't feel any presence in your house," were his first words as he stepped inside. I didn't understand what he meant, but I nodded anyway. I was trying to be a good host, trying to navigate this unexpected situation with grace. I made up a place for him to sleep. "Just until tomorrow," I reminded him, "just until you reach your cousin." He agreed, thanking me for my kindness, my understanding. I went to bed that night with an unsettled feeling in my stomach, a vague sense that something wasn't right. But I pushed it away. I was being paranoid, I told myself, unfair. This was a business associate, someone connected to people I knew and trusted. I didn't know then that I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't know that one night would stretch into 4 years of terror. I didn't know that I had just invited the devil into my home. And I certainly didn't know that his name transforming before my eyes had been the most accurate warning I would ever receive. If you're watching this and you've ever had a moment where something felt off about someone, where your intuition whispered warnings you couldn't quite explain, I want you to know this. Trust that feeling. It exists to protect you. It's not paranoia or overthinking or being too sensitive. It's your inner wisdom trying to keep you safe. It took me years to learn to trust my instincts again. Years before I could open my heart to real love, to genuine partnership. But I did learn. I did heal. I did find someone who celebrates my intuition instead of dismissing it, who wants to protect my peace instead of disturb it. But first, I had to survive what came next, and that survival began the very next morning when the mask he had been wearing started to slip. Stay with me. This story gets darker before it gets lighter. But I promise you it does get lighter, and if I can emerge from what's coming in these episodes not just alive, but truly thriving, then so can you. Next time, I'll share what happened when morning came, and the charming man from our online conversations revealed who he really was underneath. Until then, trust your instincts. They're trying to save you.